Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a universally dreaded, incredibly awkward moment that pretty much all of us have experienced at some point. Picture this. You're on a date. Things are actually going pretty well, but you are just completely exhausted from a long week. Suddenly, you accidentally slip into that Friday night zombie mode, right? Your energy drops, your face falls, and instantly, you just kill the mood. We have all been there. The panic sets in, and you're sitting there wondering how on earth to fix it without making things 10 times worse. Well, today we're going to look at the fascinating psychology behind recovering the mood, managing pride, and why your very first instinct to apologize might actually be the absolute worst thing you can do.
So, have you ever ruined a date just by looking tired? It's a terrible feeling, isn't it? You notice the atmosphere shift, the conversation completely stalls out, and you can practically feel that thick awkwardness just hanging in the air. Your mind starts racing, trying to figure out how to hit the undo button. Okay, let's dive into this and look at the reality of what is actually happening in that exact moment.
The good news is a very reassuring truth. As you'll see, a single drop in mood doesn't break a relationship. Your reaction does. Look, fatigue is completely natural. People understand, logically, that everyone has tired days and mood fluctuations. The core issue isn't that you looked exhausted for a second. The real problem starts when you panic and try to overcompensate. When you force a fake, unnatural smile or artificially crank up your energy to try and fix things, that inauthenticity is exactly what your partner picks up on. It's that forced, panicky reaction that actually creates the lasting awkwardness, not your initial sigh of exhaustion.
Section 1. The broken mood is recoverable. The good news? You absolutely don't have to write the night off just yet. To actually recover the mood, we have to understand the mechanics of why it drops in the first place. Like we mentioned, everyone gets tired, but when you panic, your response gets way overblown. Trying to instantly erase the awkwardness with this huge burst of forced cheerfulness, it feels entirely unnatural to the person sitting across from you. It signals that something is wrong and that you're desperately trying to cover it up. The only real way out of this trap is taking a calm, natural approach. You just have to acknowledge the shift in energy without making a massive deal out of it.
Moving on to Section 2, the risks of over-apologizing. Let's look at a very common yet highly destructive instinct.
There is a massive difference between two very distinct reactions here. On one hand, we have repeated apologies. You say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I'm just so tired, I'm ruining the night, I apologize." The more you say it, the heavier the mood gets. You're essentially forcing the other person to focus on the awkwardness. On the other hand, we have light disclosure. This keeps the interaction moving forward, it keeps the relationship equal, and, more importantly, it feels completely natural. When you over-apologize, you aren't just making things heavy, you're actually shifting the entire power dynamic of the relationship.
And this power shift is especially dangerous if you're dealing with what psychologists term a prideful partner. A prideful partner is highly sensitive to being looked down upon or treated weakly. But here's the catch. If you act too submissive by constantly apologizing, they subconsciously adopt a dominant, strong-willed attitude. Your excessive apologies literally make them feel superior, which completely ruins the delicate, equal power dynamic between you two. You're accidentally training them to look down on you just by saying, "I'm sorry" too many times. Crazy, right?
So, what is the absolute magic number of times you should apologize or mention your fatigue? 1. Exactly 1 time. You lightly touch on the fact that you're tired, and then you completely drop it. You do not explain it further, you do not ask for forgiveness again. You state the fact once, and you move right on.
Section 3. Keeping a flat relationship. Let's explore what keeping things equal actually means in practice.
A flat relationship basically means neither person is looking down on the other, and neither is acting overly submissive. You remain equals. Just saying something simple like, "Man, Fridays are just tiring," is the perfect example of a light disclosure. You're simply stating a fact without layering it in heavy guilt. By saying this, you gently release the tension in the air. It provides context for your quiet mood without sacrificing your dignity or bowing down an apology. It's flat, it's neutral, and it's incredibly effective.
Which brings us to Section 4, Question Techniques to Change Moods. Time to look at our actionable conversational toolkit.
So, the crucial point here is this exact 3-step sequence. First, as we just discussed, lightly mention the fatigue just once. Second, you immediately follow up by asking a new, thought-provoking question. And third, you just lean back, let them talk, and let them take control of the conversation. By asking a question that requires them to think, you're effortlessly handing the conversational reins back over to your partner. You respect their pride by giving them the floor while simultaneously taking the spotlight right off your own exhaustion.
But obviously, you can't just ask any question. There's a big difference between good topics and bad topics in this specific scenario. You want neutral subjects that allow your partner to share their opinions or knowledge, like asking about their favorite day of the week or their thoughts on weekend work schedules. What you absolutely must avoid are heavy subjects or negative imagery. For example, joking about drinking too much or hangovers might seem like light banter, but it subtly brings up negative thoughts about health and aging, which just keeps the atmosphere feeling super heavy. Keep it neutral and keep it focused on them.
Now, the underlying psychology of why asking a question works so flawlessly is absolutely fascinating. When you ask a question that requires an actual opinion, it pulls their focus entirely away from the awkward air. Human beings have this really cool psychological quirk. When a person is actively forming an answer in their head, they literally cannot hold on to the previous negative emotion. The cognitive effort of active thinking blocks the past emotion. By simply asking a good question, you're forcefully restoring a positive conversational flow because their brain actually has to let go of the awkwardness to answer you.
Section 5. The flow to restore tension. Let's look at the flow required to bring back positive energy for the rest of the date.
Okay, so you've successfully reset the mood, but you have to carry that momentum all the way to the finish line. You must end with a bright topic to set the tone for next time. Why does this matter so much? Because human memory is heavily weighted toward how an experience ends. The specific emotional temperature of the final topic you discuss dictates the exact emotional temperature of your next date. If you end on a fun, bright, engaging note, that is exactly how they're going to feel when they see you again, completely erasing any memory of that mid-date slump.
It all really comes down to this core idea: what restores the mood isn't the amount of apologies, but the quality of the next topic. It really is that simple, yet completely counterintuitive to our natural panic responses. Stop apologizing. Start asking better questions. It's a real game changer.
Which leaves us with this final thought for you to consider. What quality topic will you bring up next time the mood drops? Go ahead and prepare 1 or 2 neutral, engaging questions right now. That way, the next time you feel that wave of exhaustion hit on a Friday night, you won't panic, you won't over-apologize, and you'll know exactly how to guide the conversation gracefully back into the light. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.